Over the past few years, Lorenzo at RPM Power has put me behind the wheel of his most insane cars. Little 1.6 liter minis that have no business putting down the power they do, let alone doing it reliably. I feel like it's tough sometimes to translate the experience of a 520 wheel horsepower Mini Cooper through that screen in front of you. It's my job, it's what I do, but sometimes it can be a little difficult just to capture that full drive for you guys. But today, I just want to get down to the details of what it takes, really, to keep these engines from ending up as pieces down the road. You want to keep it all together, of course. That's crucial. That's number one, right? So part one was focused on air and fuel, but here in part two, we're going to dive into the engine block and turbo systems. Let's go.
The blocks, like in factory, the casting form, the casting shape, it is very, very, very robust. This car can be reliable at 500 wheel horsepower or even 600 wheel horsepower if you have everything done properly. But for average guy, a basic build with rods, pistons, and making the engine more friendly for timing, address reliability concern, it will be more than enough. So the approach to the build in that car, it went based on the whole experience that I have building these cars, with closed deck, with extended work in the cylinder head. Basically, I prepared the car for the worst to come. The motor is closed deck. Closed deck is really necessary if you want to go past 350 foot-pounds of torque. However, regardless, even if you stay at that 350 foot-pounds of torque, so if you drive with a big turbo on a cold evening, that 350 foot-pounds of torque, when you shift gears, it can catch a boost spike or whatever that can overshoot that torque to easy another 30, another 40 foot-pounds of torque. So you're basically taking a chance to crack your motor. I've done big turbo builds with open deck where I had the torque capped at 320 foot-pounds of torque, and I have those clients with over 40,000 kilometers on the clock, daily driven car, daily driven to work, driven weekends on the track, and the motor has been phenomenal. I like details. I like spending my time to tailor things to the best I can. It's like if I try to design something or make something, I try to approach it in a way where I completely run out of the idea and run out of my checklist of the things that I wanted to make sure I implement them, design it to the point where it's like, yes, that's where I wanted to go with. And the motor itself is very, very beefy. So once you reinforce the top, basically half of the sleeve in here, it's already like covered in casting. So once you reinforce the top, this becomes very, very robust. And even the coverage area in between cylinder to cylinder, it's very wide. It's about 6 millimeters. That leaves a lot of room for a lot of stress. Basically, it's two ways of looking at it. This metal insert here, it actually absorbs heat, but it also can heat soak itself. So it's not really heat soaking the deck because it dissipates heat, but I didn't want to leave it just bare. So all these cavities here, if you look into the factory gasket, they are there for a reason. The reason for those cavities there is not just for, any type of volume of coolant to go through. They are calculated to allow a balanced coolant flow around the water jackets. In the closed deck design that I applied to what I use here, I try to be 99.9% close with the design of the OEM head gasket, and I've had really good success. So in the Paceman, that car, anyways, there are people judging, is like, what, this guy made 360 wheel horsepower and then turned it down to 280. Yeah, right. Yes, it sounds weird, but if you don't get to drive the car, you will not understand why I did that. So the fact that the car is so heavy and the engine is basically not capable to move the air needed for that turbo that does 360, basically below 4,200 RPM, that car was like annoying to drive, like absolutely annoying to drive. And the easiest way to explain it, like let's say you're trying to make a right turn and you're waiting for the traffic to go through, and you have a gap where it's like I'm trying to fit in there and just get out of there quickly. That application would put you in such a risk in that type of traffic, because you floor the car and nothing happens. When I say nothing, you're like literally feeling like an NA all-wheel drive car, and you feel like the guy is just gonna rear end you. So the driving experience was where if you're not into boost, you're not moving. So basically, when I anticipated to figure out, okay, I want to build a Displacement, how to do it, I'm like, I'm gonna try to fit the biggest bore size that I could possibly fit. So I've had Carrillo make a custom piston for me for 78 millimeter, 10-to-1. That motor changed so much that I could not believe it. You got to drive it, that car does not feel like it has it translates based on CC around 1.7 liters. Try to make the most efficient engine that I could possibly can. This is the built motor, the solid line. The interrupted line is the stock motor with R400 Turbo. The overlay graph is R400ts, the twin scroll system, where if you see with this new engine build, the 1.7 liter with cylinder head and stuff, with the bigger frame turbo, it spools identically how the stock engine spooled with a hybrid. So basically, it's a very refined driving experience for daily, for whatever. So the task from an intake manifold is, if you have a very well built cylinder head, when you put an intake manifold on it, you don't want it to choke that cylinder head. The number one goal is to, if your head, in this case, like we have a head that flows 182 CFM, we don't want to choke it down to lose 30 CFM or 20 CFM or whatever. We want to have equal flow with that intake manifold paired to it. Basically, what we're trying to do right now with a big turbo kit, we're trying to utilize as much factory as default engineering available, utilizing the twin scroll exhaust, because there is so many benefits from it. The difference is with twin scroll and single scroll is you basically fulfilling a lot more the power band in the lower RPM area. If the previous R400 kit, and I keep saying and I keep told to the client, if you don't build an appropriate engine to support it, you're wasting your money to yes, it's cool, it's all very beautifully designed, you can't compare it, but like if you put that that package on a car where you're trying to do 350 wheel, it's not really worth the case for what it costs to deal with it. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make a package where you don't need to figure out anything, same philosophy as the previous R400. You might be paying more up front, but you buy everything you need out of the box. So when you install it on the car, you don't need to figure out, oh, what is this plumbing, what is that? You get everything out of the box, you put it on your motor, we tune it remotely, and you're good to go. There is two problems with the boost control in factory form. Factory is using vacuum system to control the boost, and inside the factory firmware, there is only an X amount of things you can do with those PIDs and the way the algorithm works, and it works fine to a certain threshold. When you try to go big turbo and things like that, there's way different challenges and way different approach to tuning required. So regardless how you look at it, if you're trying to take the car with additional fueling needed, might as well put electronics that feature more advanced boost control over the factory system. I'm not a fan of the internal wastegate configuration for multiple reasons. So the R400ts had no choice but to implement it to work, regardless if we're keeping the twin scroll, it must be paired with an external wastegate. Number one factor behind that is the wear and tear over time. You make a turbocharger system that it's more efficient and spools better, there is some back pressure to deal with it that it's translated into heat. R400 Turbo, this is a used turbo with 10,000 miles on the clock. If you check the play for the wastegate,
oh yeah, I can hear it.
And this is a Borg Wagner genuine, like the highest quality that you could ask for. So this is normal amount of play. This is a normal amount of play, not much play here. Mm-hmm. And this works fine in factory form because it's normally opened. When it controls boost, it goes closed. So regardless how much play this unit generates here, the factory system closed loop for boost control is able to compensate for it because it starts open and then it closes it. So it compensates for that play to an extent. Mm-hmm. This is why we choose to make the R400s out of the genuine Borg Wagner units. Here I have a aftermarket hot side that most of you guys that dealt with this before, you buy a cheaper hybrid option and you have questions with it down the road that it's laggy. So this guy, for example, it was pulled out of a vehicle, probably less than 10,000 kilometers, maybe, like nothing special, just a stage 3 application, daily driven car, and look how much wear it has in it. Mm-hmm. So that basically makes your money worth it for a very, very short time. All this play starts to affect the way the closed loop system is working, and instead of delivering a nice controlled boost for you to enjoy the way the car drives, now it's fighting to make this all small adjustments. So they go as bad as where there's really no adjustments left to be made. It's like on the edge of the threshold within the tables. So it doesn't matter how much you try, it just doesn't get there. So that relates to the factory system. Now, if we try to go big turbo, you have to utilize a different wastegate, not vacuum pressure. So now we have these in closed form. This is very important, very, very important to know and to share. So when you go external port with a TurboSmart actuator, where it's a twin port, and now you don't have the wastegate open, but in closed position, because there is no aftermarket boost controllers that allow you to tune external wastegate in open position, so you have to go in closed. What happens is this play in there causes pressure bleed. So if you go with a bigger turbocharger that you wanted to have it spooling as good as possible, this play here is bleeding exhaust pressure. So that little amount of play can cause as much as like 500 RPM lag into the power band, and it makes a big turbo leggier than it should be. As the mileage goes up, it becomes worse and worse and worse. And how to translate it into the tuning side of things, you tune this application in this form with a wastegate shut to 22, 23 PSI, let's just give it a number. Months later, you're gonna have 21, if it's an open loop tune, not a closed loop. You'll be like, what happened? Why my boost dropped? So why it dropped? Because this clearance changed. So it's affecting all those tables. And if you try to tune closed loop, then it becomes even a bigger issue, because the adjustment, the PID settings, it only gives a resolution how far you can take those adjustments. So this wear, if it goes outside those 5-10% adjustments that you left in the PID tables, then you drive in a car with like a power band and boost fluctuation where it's completely horrible. Yeah. So the only way to do this for the new turbo is to go with a reliable choice of external wastegate. So this is a prototype on the jig. So this is a proven 40 millimeter wastegate. The hot side was designed to flow perfect with the twin scroll exhaust manifold. So I'm not gonna give you full detail what size is the AR and so on so far, what goes along with it. However, it went through an extensive engineering to optimize it, to keep a good flow, but also to reduce some of the back pressure that is not really good in the when you're trying to make high horsepower numbers. And not only that, the design of the new turbocharger, it will allow to utilize the most downpipes from stage 2. The cost of plumbing this turbo is probably 50% less than what it costs to plumb the previous turbocharger kit. Realistically speaking, it's the same R400 Turbo that it was before, but it's just designed to plumb to the factory exhaust manifold, and it's designed to flow just as well. It will take a bit of a time to gain more feedback. This product does exist only because the previous R400 kit existed. The cost of making something like this up front is huge. And there is so many questions in place that you truly need to know exactly what kind of product you make, how you're gonna support it with tuning, how you're gonna support it with everything that goes along with it. So if there was no experience from the previous R400 kit, this truly could not exist. It will be available where you can buy just a turbo or you buy everything. Because there is guys that know what they're doing, know how to plumb them, know how to operate this kind of system. Yeah. This will be a friendly choice of go-to product where it will perform well, have great response, and have a power band that you really after. The ability to tailor the package, it won't be just one type of this turbo. We'll have the options to do it to 500 horsepower and to 350 horsepower. So we will be able to suit is like what I have in the Displacement, something that spools quick, has good torque, has good response. Is like, what's the point fitting a 500 horsepower turbo in the Displacement when the functional torque for that application is 320 foot-pounds of torque? This will probably wrap up everything I had to deal with N18, N14, and if you bring your car here, there's a lot of cool things that I can do in no limits of how far it can be pushed. For the Displacement, I think there is maybe a chance to figure things out to push it harder than that. I just don't see the need to do it. It's a great car as is. It's in a good threshold for a very suitable, fun daily driver car with zero hustle to support it. Have a GP2 here that features same identical build to the one that went into the Displacement. So we'll see if the torque threshold in this car will be different to the one in the Displacement. Physically, I cannot build every single Mini that it's out there, but if I can support with an advice to help a customer make their choices right, regardless who you choose for your build and what products you want to go with your build, better do it right from day one than have to deal with problems later and spending money again for the same thing. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, Lorenzo.